Well, hello there, fellow geeks and geekettes, and welcome to yet another episode of my Focusing on Artists video series. Now, in today's episode, I would like to talk about Sam Kieth, one of my favorite creators, because not only is he a fantastic penciler, but also a very, very good writer. Now, I mentioned in my previous video that I admire above all things when somebody is a Renaissance man and can both draw and write a piece of art. In this case, a comic book, an American comic book. Now, Sam Kieth, he really has had a very prolific career. He worked for both the two big publishers, Marvel and DC, for some independent publishers, and also he is a creator of his own creations, of his own characters and stories. Now, just to give you some brief, uh, short examples of his work, probably my favorite work of Sam Kieth is his work on Batman. This is a collected edition of some of his Batman stories. This trade paperback is called Batman Ghosts by Sam Kieth, but um, it collects Batman Confidential 40 through 43, plus the never before collected miniseries Batman Lobo Deadly Serious. Now, if you have been watching my videos for some time, you know that Lobo is one of my favorite characters of all time, which if you can see, there is a quite an expensive action figure of Lobo there, standing next to my Batman animated series, so you can see that I've got a little bit of a shrine of my favorite characters behind me. But look at that Lobo by Sam Kieth. His art, it looks a bit scratchy very, very often. Look at that. As if he was scratching his art, his drawings with pencil, and then tracing the each and every line that he drew with the pencil, with then ink over it, and very, very often you can see the pencil itself, that it is not even traced by an ink line, and that is very specific about Sam Kieth's artwork, which makes it stand out from the crowd. And as it is with the best creators and the best pencilers and artists, you will recognize Sam Kieth's artwork the second you look at it and you lay your eyes upon it. Now, this is one of the cover arts of the crossover between Batman and Lobo. And tell me, wouldn't you like to have this printed out in an oversized, printing, and frame it, put it on your wall? Well, I would like that, for sure. So that was his Batman / Lobo. Now, the first part of the trade paperback collects his, is it, well, it was Batman Confidential, which was an ongoing line of Batman stories, but I think that this particular is called, Batman Ghost. There was another one which was called, I believe, Behind the Looking Glass, but this is not collected in this one. I like that as well. Look at this. This is like a very famous, very worldwide known drawing of Batman, of course drawn by Sam Kieth, and as I mentioned in my last video, some comic book creators, some comic book pencilers, have become so good and so famous that action figurines and statues have been made in the image of their drawings. Now, there have been some statues of Sam Kieth's Batman. Unfortunately, I don't have any of them, but I would like to lay my hands on them if I have the chance. Look at that. It's you could just look at the pictures for hours without reading the text, and you could keep yourself entertained. right? So that was Batman and Batman/Lobo by Sam Kieth. Now, as I said, not only did he work for DC, but also for Marvel. That is a reprint of a single issue of a Wolverine comic book. And once again, yeah, you can see that. As far as Marvel goes, Wolverine, definitely my favorite character. So it's the same as it was with Batman. You look at the pictures and you instantly recognize Sam Kieth's artwork. Look at the Wolverine there, Logan. I especially like the way Sam Kieth draws Wolverine's or Logan's hair. In this issue, it's not that. It's not. But by the way, first look at him, just munching on the meat, as if he was the true animal Wolverine. In some of the other Wolverine publications drawn by Sam Kieth, I believe that he drew Wolverine's hair in a very extraordinary way. That they were very those spikes that Wolverine has, formed of his hair, were very long. In this one, it's not that brutal, but in any case, once again, you could just look at the pictures for hours, and nobody draws like that these days. I mean, no new artist, no new penciler. Most of them are vanilla artists, as I call them, just a part of the crowd, mostly doing things on computer, so it can be done as quickly as possible. Oh, now look at that! There's an ad for a comic book that I actually reviewed on my channel. Since this is a modern reprint, I'll put a link down below to that particular review, because it's actually is it? Yeah, I think it is. Because this actually is quite a good comic book, and I had not expected that, from a modern Marvel comic. So I will definitely put a link down below so you can check it out. Right. So as I said, yeah, just I could just be flipping through it for hours. One more panel to show you, to demonstrate the awesome talent of Sam Kieth. Look at that. Look. Once again, the portrayal of women is absolutely perfect and beautiful. Sometimes maybe idealized versions of human beings in comic books, but that's the way it always has been, or was, before, well, some people got a bit mad. Right, so this is Wolverine by Sam Kieth. And the last thing I've got to show you today is his own creation, and unfortunately I've only got this very, very old Czech translation of this comic book. That's the Max. This is trade paperback volume 1. Volume 2 never came out in Czech. Well, it really doesn't really matter. It doesn't bother me. I wouldn't have bought it in Czech anyway. But this is quite a rare thing for me, because it's the only Max comic book that has ever come out in Czech, and I am actually going to get my hands on the collected editions of the Max series. Well, who is Max? What's Max? This is Max. This is his creation. And he is, Max is a hero/anti-hero with very specific powers and very specific problems. I would say that similarly to Moon Knight, his specific power and/problem is a mental problem, or a possible mental disease. You never know whether Max suffers from schizophrenia, or whether the things that he's experiencing are actually happening, because he very often travels to this outback world, which is some sort of a fantasy world where he escapes, but at the same time has to go through adventures and many dangers there. But then suddenly he's transformed into our world, the real world, or the primary world, as Tolkien called it. And the more you read from the Max series, the more parallels you find between our world, or the primary world, and the fantasy outback, where the Max is being transported, or the secondary world, as Tolkien called it. But just to show you some examples of his artwork in the Max, again, the same perfection that you could find in Batman and in Wolverine, you can find in Max. Now you can see that the colorist here was a bit more adventurous, or it's just the way the comic book has been printed, because it's much more colorful. This comic book is much more colorful than the two I have shown you before. Now, of course, on this one he has collaborated with William Messner-Loebs, but look at that, just pure perfection. Once again, look at this double page spread, right? Yeah, that's the thing, man. So that's it. This is I just have to look at every single picture. Right. So that's Max by Sam Kieth and William Messner-Loebs. So once again, just to sum up today's episode, I was talking about one of the best comic book pencilers and writers and artists in general, Sam Kieth, who has worked for both Marvel and DC and did his own created characters. And my personal favorites, coming from the pen and the head and the hand of Sam Kieth, are his work on Batman, on Wolverine, and his own The Max. So, my friends, tell me if you agree with me as far as Sam Kieth goes, that he's very good. Tell me if you like his drawings or not. Tell me if you've read some of his stories, be it Batman, Wolverine. He also worked on Sandman with Neil Gaiman, or be it his own personal Max. Or feel free to share your own favorite artists and writers. Give me your top 5, top 10, just focus on artists. And feel free to dislike this video, feel free to like this video, feel free to subscribe or share this video if you like, and things like that, and the crazy things we always say, people who make YouTube videos. But that would be all from me, my friends. Now, see you in another video, and bye.